All right, guys, so here we are, and we are going to talk about Mars transiting Scorpio between the 9th of December 2017 and the 26th of January 2018. And Jupiter is also in Scorpio, and most other planets will be in Sagittarius, Mercury retrograding as we speak, Venus, Sun. Saturn is still in Sagittarius, but will be moving to Capricorn soon by the end of, actually by the 21st or 22nd of December, depending on where you are in the world. And so this transit of Mars, what I would like to say, first of all, is that it may be underrated by most astrologers. Mars transiting to Scorpio, well, yada, yada, yada. This may be more significant than most people will give it credit for, and there's two reasons for that. Most astrologers consider Pluto as the ruler of Scorpio and Mars as being kind of the sidekick ruler of Scorpio. I consider Mars the first and only ruler of Scorpio. And mainly that's because I use the lords of the houses. I use them. That's one of the main cornerstones of my astrological practice. So my accuracy depends on using the proper lords for the signs. I cannot afford to kind of speculate on which are the lords. I use the traditional lords and they work. So because most other planets are in Sagittarius and Jupiter is in Mars' sign, which is Scorpio, and Mars will join here and kind of provide this heat, this extra heat to Jupiter, and Jupiter will expand the energy of Mars because that's what Jupiter does. It expands energies. Can even exaggerate them, blow them out of proportion. So keep that in mind. We're going to talk about a few things here. But this just goes to show that most planets right now will be under the influence of Mars. Mars becomes extremely important now as it enters Scorpio. It becomes extremely important. Martian energy comes to the forefront. And it's kind of like, okay, whatever else you were doing, drop it. You need to pay attention to Mars right now, okay? Mercury is retrograding. I know that's quite important because, Saturn is going to be moving to Capricorn under a Mercury retrograde and all this other stuff. But we cannot afford to ignore Mars because, if you ignore Mercury, that's okay. You'll get away with it. You cannot ignore Mars when it becomes prominent. So, guys, I'm not the ones who kind of blow events out of proportion. Like, oh, this is going to be that huge event that is going to change your life forever. I'm not that kind of guy. As you know, if you've been watching some of my videos, when an event, if I think that an event is not that much of a big deal, I will just tell you. So I'm not doing this for show, but I genuinely think that this is an important astrological event. Again, it has to do with that most planets will come under the influence of Mars because most planets are in Sagittarius. Jupiter is in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and the Lord comes home to his sign. Now, Aries is the outer sign of Mars, and in the Hybrid Astrology Manual, which I will link down below, it should be ready sometime during this period. So if you're watching this video, check out the links down below. And you will find down below, by the way, a video where I covered the transit of Scorpio, the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio for most moon signs and descendant signs as well, but mostly your moon signs. So check that out in the description as well. So just so I don't have to talk about Jupiter as well, because, it's important that Jupiter is here. That makes it all the more important that Jupiter is in Scorpio. And you have to understand why. So Aries is the outer expression of Mars. As you know from the Hybrid Astrology Manual, if you decide to pick it up, which you definitely should, there's nothing like it. When Mars expresses in the... So Mars, we made the analogy of Mars being like a magnifying glass that kind of takes the light of the sun, the consciousness of the sun, the energy of the sun, the heat of the sun, and just like a magnifying glass, if you've ever used a magnifying glass to set fire to set a piece of paper on fire, with the light of the sun and a magnifying glass, you know what this analogy means. That's what Mars does. It focuses that consciousness. When you focus your attention on a point, that's Mars doing that. Or, the aspects of your organism, biology, consciousness that are doing that are represented, ruled, governed, directed by planet Mars. When you focus your energy towards something, towards completing a task, anything that you focus energy on, that's why Mars represents sharp objects, because what does a sharp object do? It takes some weight that you apply to it, some pressure, and it focuses it on a very on a very narrow edge, so then it cuts through. That's what Mars does. And so Mars is the focuser of energy, of consciousness, of attention, of will, of anything, right? Because all that the planets have to work with is the energy of the sun. The planets are managers of different facets of the sun's energy. That's why the sun rules over all of the planets, and the moon as well. But let's not get too much into technical details here. I want to give you something for each of the ascendants. But yeah, Scorpio is that inner expression of Mars. So when Mars focuses energy, attention, consciousness in the inner dimension, as it does, then that's what Scorpio is. That's where the energy of Scorpio is born. When Mars focuses on the inner, not the outer, that's Aries. When Mars focuses on the inner, you get depth. You get profound introspection, profound insight. Transformation, intensity, inner heat, all of the things that are associated with Scorpio, right? Scorpio is kind of the boiling water in a way, right? And so when Mars comes home, it's also with Jupiter. So all of that gets expanded. But Jupiter is ruled by Mars. So Mars is in charge here. Jupiter will expand that, but Mars is in charge. Now Mars gains prominence. And on the world stage, I'm going to focus on the individual more. But on the world stage, I don't think I need to tell you what that may mean. But I don't expect this to be explosive necessarily, as many things have been in recent times. And of course, everything is just escalating naturally according to plan. But with Mars and Jupiter here, you would expect an explosion, either quotes or without quotes, literally or just metaphorically. But because they are in Scorpio, the word implosion, I think, becomes more relevant. So I'm not going to kind of dwell on that idea too much. This is just kind of to throw this out there. But now this heat, this profundity that is brought to your house of Scorpio, and this expansion with Jupiter there, and of course your eighth house, not your eighth house, Sagittarius, eighth house Sagittarius, I don't know. Sagittarius, your house of that's because it's the eighth house in my chart, so I know where that came from. Sagittarius, the house of Sagittarius in your chart will also feel that expansion and that heat. And most other planets will feel that expansion of that heat. So, that's like turning up the volume, turning up the intensity, turning up the everything, the amperage, the voltage, everything. But this all facilitates introspection, inner dimension analysis, and all that stuff. So let me just try to take it for each of the ascendants and kind of give you a bit of insight. Of course, if you want more, and if you want something more detailed and more accurate, you need to go to the links down below and book a session with me, because I do need to see your entire chart. So don't take this as gospel, as this is going to happen because Alex said it. All of your chart needs to be seen. And so, yeah, you can find that down in the description. Anyway, Aries, of course, Mars rules your ascendant, and now it goes in your 8th house with Jupiter. So a lot going on the emotional level for you. Very intense thoughts, very intense feelings. Control your temper. You may, it may be blown out of proportion. you may find the urge to kind of get even with someone, get revenge, or someone may find that this would be a great time to do that with you. So there is this, there may be this theme for some of you, and of course, I would expect you to be the one who's acting Mercury retrograde, who's acting impulsively here, because Aries, you're Aries, and so be careful about that. Now, there may be also some legal issues. Someone, you may get that paper that says, hey, you remember that you had to pay that thing once? Well, you still have to pay it, or something like that, right? Because the eighth house is taxes, it's fines, things like that. But it also represents other people's money. So in business, this could be great as well. If you are in business and you need to deal with other people's money, manage other people's money, that may happen. You may get money from someone else. Now, of course, this may happen in different ways. So about 1 billion people have ascendant or moon in Aries, and by the way, these predictions are all also going to be somewhat relevant to your moon and sun sign as well. So yeah, there's not really much more that we can say about that. Taurus, this is an intense time for you, especially since Mars moves to one of your angular houses, which is your 7th house. It's your house of relationship. So Mars usually represents males, and of course, if you're a female and you have Taurus ascendant or Taurus moon, again, I'll just say ascendant from now, but you can use that for the moon as well to some kind of triangulate the meaning. Take the meaning of your ascendant sign and of your moon sign and kind of add them together and see where you stand on that. The sun, not so much, right? So kind of give it a 50% ascendant, a 30% moon, and a 20% sun, I guess. That will depend as well, but just kind of like a basic guideline. Anyway, so Taurus, your 7th house. A lot going on in your 7th house, especially if you're a female, because Jupiter and Mars both represent the males in your life. Mars represents just the male, the person you are attracted to, the sexuality, attraction, the younger males even. Jupiter represents the husband, someone who is kind to you. Can also represent mentorships as well. There is a chance of having arguments around your relationships, because the 8th house is Jupiter, and 8th house can derange things. Mars is, of course, heated energy. So this heated energy for you, Taurus, can manifest in a number of ways in your 7th house. Ideally, it will manifest in nice ways. But, you have to be careful about that. And usually it's not just one way or the other. It can manifest both ways. So keep that in mind and pay special attention. But even if you're a male, Mars can still represent a female for you, a partner for you, especially Venus aligns to some points in your chart, because Mars rules your 7th house. But this is not only about intimate relationships, as always. We've kind of made the 7th house about sex. It's not sex in itself, right? Venus even isn't sex in itself. The 7th house is everything face to face. But of course, the most important things that you do face to face are going to be marriage and partnership, intimate partnership and sex, right? Those are going to be the most prominent things that you do face to face. But anything that you do one-to-one, face-to-face with other people is the 7th house. So this area for you, Taurus, gets a lot of attention, a lot of intensity. You will need to pay special attention here to that heat, so that it channel it in the proper ways. Gemini, 6th house. Now, with the 6th house and Mars going there, I do suggest that you pay attention to your health. If you're going for any treatment, any therapy, any surgery, this may be a time when you choose to do that. But if you don't require something like this, and maybe there won't be any issue, but the 6th house is your house of health, and there's the 7th lord, which is Jupiter. See how I always use the lords? 7th house Jupiter can be someone who is wise in a profession, so you may get counseling on your health, on your work, on your hygiene, on your diet, on your nutrition, sixth house issues. You may get, counseling on that, because the seventh house, what are you doing? Standing at a table or by video conference with someone, and they're telling you, look, you need to eat more of this, less of that, because then your cholesterol, and then your whatever that may be, right? Or maybe some alternative diet plan, or I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to give you leads here. And so, but because Mars is your 11th lord, and whatever the 11th lord touches, it may gain for better or worse, right? The good things or the not so good things of that house may gain when the 11th lord is transiting them. And the 11th lord, which is Mars, is transiting your 6th house. So you may gain more work. You may need to put more energy, more effort in your work. You may have a lot of chores to do, a lot of responsibilities to handle. But again, you may gain a health condition. So again, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's cold outside, dress well, okay? Cancer. Now, Cancer, for you, it may be one of the placements for Cancer where Mars is important. It's still important. Don't take your eyes off it. But there's a lot going on in your 7th house, which is an angular house, and that is Saturn is entering there at the end of December. Sun will be there, Venus will be there not long after, Mercury will be there, so there will be a lot going on in your 7th house. Don't attribute that to Mars, right? Mars is going to do something else. It might have something to do with that, but it's going to be on the sidelines of that. That Martian energy is going to be on the sidelines of that, especially if you're not in a relationship. It may influence your, going out dating sphere, because it is going to be transiting your 5th house with Jupiter. So if you're single, maybe more flirting, more dating, more going out, more having fun, more partying, more abuses maybe. So try to be temperate about your activity, your fun during this time, but also more creativity with Mars and Jupiter in your 5th house. And your creativity, for those of you who are trying to make a career out of your creativity or passion, the things that you love doing, this may be a good time to do that. This may be a good time to even otherwise, to add a dash of creativity, of fun, of enjoyment in your work sphere, because your 6th lord, which is Jupiter, and your 10th lord, which is Mars, representing work, responsibility, toil, hardship, that, and then the 10th house, which is your public persona, your public role, your public visibility, your role in the world, they join in your 5th house. So that's a good thing for you, Cancer. The 6th lord in your 5th house, maybe not so much, but there is still the fact that Mars controls this. And Mars, for you, Cancer, by the way, even though Mars is debilitated in Cancer, for the Cancer ascendant, Mars is one of the planets that but it's going to be hard for you to master it properly, because you're a Cancer and Mars is debilitated in Cancer. But wherever Mars is in your chart, you have huge potential in mastering that Mars energy. So now this Mars energy goes into your area of creativity, of fun, of enjoyment. So make use of that. Learn how to master the energy of Mars in a creative, enjoyable way. Because for you, Cancer, the energy of Mars is infinitely useful and full of potential. Leo. Right, so for you, Leo, this happens in your... And by the way, whatever I said for Cancer of Mars having this huge potential, it goes for you, Leo, as well, but not in the same way. For Cancer, it has to do with work and creativity, with the public persona, fame, name and fame, recognition, authority in the world for Cancer. For you, Leo, it's not that. Because you're already ruled by the sun. How much more authority and prominence can Mars give you if you're ruled by the sun? In fact, for you, Leo, since Taurus is your 10th house of visibility and prominence, Venus can bring more prominence to you, because you're already imposing in certain ways. Now, this may depend, of course, where the sun is, yada, yada, yada. I'm saying this as a general. But Venus, fluency, some grace, can really add to your majesty. So Leo is a sign that can really be enhanced in their prominence by Venus rather than by Mars, which can be kind of, a bit over the top. You're already ruled by Sun, then you throw Mars in there. Oh my God. But Mars is also useful for you. It's a powerful planet in your chart if you're a Leo ascendant, because it rules the ninth and the fourth house. A trine house, which is a fluent, a gracious house, and the fourth house, which is one of the angles, which are the most important concrete funnels into the most concrete aspects of our life. And the fourth house is our home, our security, our fixed assets, our emotional security. So the fourth house is security overall. Whatever provides a sense of security. There are some more obvious things that provide security in our life, like the mother's care during childhood, the physical home, the family and roots, the country that we live in, right? That security. But emotional security is there as well. And of course, that also goes back to the mother. But with Mars going into your fourth house, you have the possibility of a power combination here. A really great power combination if you want to change homes, move abroad. Great for you if you want to move abroad. Leo ascendant, Leo moon as well. If you want to redecorate, great for you. Buy that new vehicle. Get creative with your... oh my God, I mean, there's so much that can go on for you, Leo, with Mars transiting your fourth house. And it mainly has to do with the fact that Jupiter is also there. And that doesn't happen too often for you. So, a lot of things can come to pass during this time, which can change things for the better, hopefully for you. Again, we would need to see your full chart for that. But generally for Leo, this may be a great time. All right. Virgo, third house. Scorpio is your third house. What else is going in your third house? What do these planets rule? Eighth house. Virgo, eighth house. If you want to study something, psychology, metaphysics, astrology, tarot, crystals, whatever, this is a good time to pick up that book. Jupiter and Mars in your third house. Be careful about arguments with your partners. Be careful about the unhealthy kind of competition in your partnerships. Not only intimate, especially your spouse, because they're more important to take more care there. But any kind of interactions, partnerships, deals, contracts, arrangements that you have, take care, because it can get... it can get intense. Now, if you're into your own business or at work, you may get more to do, more work to do, more come and go, making phone calls, getting out, coming back in, go grab that thing, go get that, package or whatever. A lot of activity. If you're in your own business, this may mean that you're getting more work. This may mean more income, or it may not. We will need to pay more attention to Venus here, but this is not what we're talking about. If you look at Venus here, we see that you may be inclined to spend for your home. No, not for your home. I'm sorry. You may be moving home as well. That may be among the issues. There may be something... So there's a lot of activity, because the third house is the house of activity. That's why I'm kind of stumbling here to find something for you, Virgo. Again, take care around your partnerships. Don't let useless competition get in your way of getting along with people. But there's a lot of activity. You have a lot to do. You have a lot on your hands. So that's what I can say for you. As a general for Virgo. And good time to study. Good time to learn something to study, especially about metaphysics. Hybrid Astrology Manual should be down below by the end of this transit sometime. Libra, second house. The Lord of your second house goes in your second house. Now, when the Lord of your second house goes in your second house and Jupiter goes there as well, you may get that raise. You may get more money. You may get more business if you're in your own business, even more so than for Virgo. Your activity, if you get more activity, it is likely to be more fruitful. So for Libra, if you're in your own business especially, this is very likely to be a great time for you. But even to start an activity which you plan in the future that it will bring you more income, great time to do that. But just pay attention to the cycles of the moon when you do that, because you can ruin it if you choose to start your activity during the wrong cycle of the moon. Yeah, but overall, in the area of finances, it could be quite good. But if you're earning more, you may be inclined to, Libra, you like to go out and spend. You like to go out and spend, have fun, go ball. So be careful that you don't get out of hand, because, Mars is going to only spend so long in Scorpio. Then Jupiter is here for a while. Mars is going to go in Sagittarius. Then these two houses are going to exchange, or maybe even more business. But still, with Mars, try not to get out of hand with spending and whatnot. But overall, and things related to material things, should be quite a good time for you, Libra, generally. Always have to say that. Scorpio, a lot going on. A lot going on because there's Mars, your Lord, and your sixth Lord in your ascendant. This is one of those periods when you get hella intense. But this is also a period where you grow and evolve and expand. Now, hopefully you do so in the right ways. You expand into the right areas, into the right preoccupations. You expand into the right activities, into the right mentalities. Because you can expand into mentalities which are not so helpful long term. So hopefully for most of you Scorpios, it will be that an intense time. There's the theme of money and the finances for you throughout Jupiter's transit, but this has to do more with Jupiter than it does with Mars. But of course your Lord is going to exchange at the beginning of 2017. For the first couple of months, there is going to be this strong theme of finances, money, but even your family, your close friends, revisiting close friends, family, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be eating more. I think some of you, most of you maybe, are going to be eating more, enjoying better food during this time. Maybe new nutrition plan, diets, stuff like that. Think about it. This may be that time. Sagittarius. This is happening in your 12th house. So, with Jupiter going in your 12th house, Sagittarius, because it rules your ascendant, this is a period of profound introspection. You're going to be introspecting on so many things. Throughout Jupiter passing through Scorpio, you're going to come to realizations, develop new notions, spend that alone time, feel like retreating and spending time in your den and kind of, figuring the essence of life out. But when Mars comes here, you still have that impulse, you still want to, but then there's this heat that is put on this whole process of your meditation, of your contemplation. And it gets a bit agitated, and you feel that you're put under pressure, and don't let this destabilize you. It's a necessary part of the process, and it's going to be ongoing throughout Jupiter's passage through Scorpio, but especially until about March 2017. This theme is likely to be very intense for you. Right. Okay, Capricorn, 11th house. What does Mars rule? Your 4th house. Gaining things for the home, buying things for the home, buying that vehicle, maybe, That's all I can think about with your 4th Lord in your 11th house. Probably even getting more finances during this time. But this is Capricorn, just as with Cancer, this is one sign where you would not want to focus that much on Mars. Again, don't lose it out of sight. But there's a lot going on in Capricorn. Your Lord is coming back to your sign, Saturn. This is going to be the most prominent theme for you. Not like for Cancer, where you kind of, well, is Mars and Jupiter more important, or is Saturn more important? No, this is definitely Saturn is the most important for you. Saturn going into Capricorn, and then there's the Sun, and there's Venus there, and Mercury will be there. So really, this kind of gets overshadowed by Saturn going into your sign, and we're going to talk about that as well, I think, in the next video. So subscribe. Right, Capricorn. Well, let's try to figure out something about this Mars here. More expanding your community, expanding your vision on life, your ideals, your hopes. You're expanding your hopes. You're making broader hopes and wishes and goals for yourself, which is a good thing, I think, if you are doing that. And these goals may have to do with your home and your family and your security, both emotional and material. Of course, you're a Capricorn, so you're inclined to. Aquarius, 10th house. Well, one thing that I can think about is, first of all, Saturn rules you, Aquarius. Again, just as I said about Mars, I use traditional rulers. Saturn rules you. It's going to go in your 12th house, a period of contemplation, but we're going to talk about more of that. You're going to feel the passage of Saturn in your 12th house. But as for Mars, what I can think about is maybe getting that promotion in your career. Honestly, this may be the time for you to get more work, better work. You may be changing jobs. There's a lot of energy in your public sphere right now with Mars in your 10th house, but it's not only because Mars is in your 10th house. The 11th house, which is Jupiter, is in your 10th house. And the 11th house is, again, as I mentioned before, the house of gain. So you may gain in your public arena. You may get promoted. You may earn more money. But Mars rules your 3rd house, and Mars is fiery in of itself. The 3rd house is a very active sign. So there may be a lot going on in your public sphere. Not necessarily that you get more work, though you may, just in your company, in your whatever you work, or whatever your public role is. There may be a lot going on in that area. Not necessarily that you are the one doing it, though you may. But that's what I see. And Pisces, 9th house. 9th house for Pisces. Well, definitely, I think you have a lot to learn during this time, and Mars going, and this is mainly due to Jupiter. But Mars is probably going to speed this process up, revisiting your morals, your ethics when it comes to finances, to money. That may be a theme. When you may be just finishing learning something. You may be or starting to learn something, getting some mentorship, getting more wisdom, getting wiser in your life, Pisces, during this time. Again, Pisces, for you, the fact that Jupiter is there is more important than the fact that Mars is there, because Jupiter rules you. Some career themes as well. Something to sign, maybe something legal to pay attention to in your public sphere. Maybe there as well for you, Pisces, ascendants and moons. Yeah, so guys, that's most of what I would like to cover for each of the ascendant signs. Again, if you want a detailed forecast for 2018, or natal reading for your charts, we can do that by live video. You need to check out the links in the description. And this is most of what I had to say. Don't forget to also take a look at the Jupiter transiting Scorpio video, because it is a longer transit, so it has more weight to it, the fact that Jupiter is there. We only have to pay this much attention to Mars while it's here, which is between the 9th of December and the 26th of January, which is not that long. But Jupiter is going to be in Scorpio for a year, so I suggest that you give some attention to this aspect. And, thanks very much for watching. I hope this was useful for you. And I think the next video we are going to cover will be Saturn going into Capricorn. And that's massive, a huge, massive event. So I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. And thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. This was a pleasure for me. There's nothing I missed, I think. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Ciao.